So I'll call this street committee meeting to order at 6 p.m. on August 5th. Mr. Booth is joining us by phone. I'll go ahead and chair the committee for tonight. So we got quite a few items here. Let's start with, we also have Michael Betts here from BLZ. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Service Director, Mr. Cohen. So we'll start with the additional paving projects for 24 and 25. And I guess at this point, Mr. Cohen, if you could address where we're at on those.
Well, they finished 4th Street today, Cotner Street today. They're gonna do East Franklin tomorrow. And when they're done with East Franklin, they're gonna start on Pleasant View. They'll be doing that tomorrow, Wednesday. They're gonna fix here at top of Mason, or Madison Hill. Madison and Franklin, there's a part they had to mill out.
Okay.
They're gonna fix that. I told them I want that fixed before the parade of the hills, because when the parade's over, the queens go back up around through there.
Gotcha. So East Franklin tomorrow, and then they'll do those little cutouts. I noticed they have little cutouts like going up at the end of 4th Street and a couple other various connecting streets,
they're
Clinton and
gonna
stuff. So they'll tie in all that maybe tomorrow then.
Maybe, but I know they're going up to work on Pleasant View as soon as they're done with East
Okay.
East Franklin. Then they're leaving town, and I'm not sure for how long. I think Jason said a week.
That's what I heard.
And then they're coming back and gonna head into Frog Hollow to finish Frog Hollow. Because everything at Frog Hollow is.
Okay. So Tuesday, Wednesday, they'll be in town this week then, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay. All right. And then,
They're gonna work on East Franklin, Pleasant View, and then start working on all the little side stuff that's left. We've still got the hill going into Pine Groves getting paved, yeah. The city's paying for that. We've got another alley down there on the west end that's getting paved. Next Franklin to Washington.
okay.
So that's for, and is there additional paving for 24?
That's it, we're out of budget by the time we get all that done, because we've already done. We done Edward Street. The Edward Street's gonna get finished out to 278 also. It's just not done yet, because they've still got.
Right, because they stopped at like Williams and Edwards Street there.
So they
right?
stopped, so the dump trucks aren't driving on the new asphalt.
Gotcha.
So they stopped to work their way back out, and then they'll do that as it comes out. But yeah, we're out of asphalt.
So that'll all get done, and then for that, then for 24, we paved all the streets that we pretty much earmarked for then 24.
I mean, we've still got money left to buy asphalt for like potholes and stuff.
Right, I saw they were all patching.
We didn't want to spend absolutely everything and then not have money for potholes. I do need to ask, and I don't know if it's in this meeting or where it's at, the extra 25,000, because when the sinkhole happened on 4th Street, they had 2 dump trucks full of asphalt waiting to go.
Right.
And I talked to them, and we were getting billed for it one way or another, whether it was in the project or whether we put it somewhere and paid for it. But if it stayed in the project, they were just gonna take it back and dump it at the plant.
And we were gonna pay for it
And
and
we were
lose
gonna
it.
pay for it,
Yeah.
so I made the decision to go ahead and find a couple alleys to throw it in. So that way, I mean, if we're gonna pay for it, we might as well put it
Utilize
somewhere
it.
it's useful.
Right, yeah, one of them was up here between Franklin and West Washington.
I can't think of the
Clifford,
name.
I think. Was
I
it
can't think
Clifford?
of the name of the alley.
Wasn't an alley, it was actually.
It's a road.
Yeah, yeah.
We've always called it an alley since I was.
Like
Yeah.
Clifford or
It's
something.
right, it's right there where Mark Hall used to live, drops down
Yeah.
over the hill.
Yeah.
And then the other alley that they still gotta do is the next one down. So it's a
Okay.
little narrow, but it's pretty rough.
Okay, nice.
What about the, guys, I want to draw your attention, the rumor that is floating around town that we have committed to spending money to help pay Bessemer Road. Have you guys,
Yeah.
has that
My
been brought,
question, exactly.
has that been brought to your attention?
Yeah, it's actually on the agenda here.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep, you're good.
Kind of jumping that.
yeah, we're gonna talk about that. So, okay, so I think we've got all the 24 stuff. And then, and that sounds like it's pretty much
Yeah,
spent then, okay.
Michael brought
So,
the rest of the
so
money.
we, real quick, but about, you mentioned about the 25,000 because that sinkhole, you need 25,000.
To cover everything else that we've already committed to. Because we were
Oh, okay.
committed for asphalt and then that happened. We already had signed contracts to sign quotes and then that happened. And I just couldn't see having to take it back and dumping it and us paying for it.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so we'll need another 25 then appropriated. So
Right,
we'll have to push that to finance.
we'll
then.
push that to the finance
Okay.
committee for tomorrow night.
Are you saying 25 or 45?
25
25,
Oh, okay.
25,000.
for that particular
Okay.
item.
Yeah,
That's for Fourth Street, right?
yes, okay.
I have something good to say.
Okay, great.
When Jason has been, telling all this stuff and I've been listening, and I went down to that dinner they had for the people that don't have a lot down at the library. And this one lady came up and asked me about the pothole and everything, and why wasn't the whole street fixed, and why wasn't this? I explained it to her, and she says, I didn't know that.
Wonderful.
So it was nice that you shared that, Jason.
Thank you. Well, appreciate that. Thank
That's
you,
all.
Ms. LaRue. Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and discuss Bessemer Road.
So, yeah, this is potentially problematic, but it's, so, well, let's just dive into it, I guess, because, beat around the bush. So the reality is that, our city manager has discussed with township trustees about paying half of Bessemer Road, paving Bessemer Road, which is not a city street within the city of Nelsonville. It's a township road. And it's
Actually not even in Brookfield.
It's not even in Brookville.
It's county, so our PD patrols Brookfield.
Yeah. They don't even, they don't,
Bessemer Road is sheriff's department.
it's sheriff's department. So, so, the situation is, in my opinion, it's problematic because we already have enough difficulty maintaining and fixing our roads currently. And except for the roads that we've been paving, because we said that 3 years ago that we would fix them once we finished tearing them up and replacing water and sewer lines there. So now we're looking at potentially, we've already agreed to, for the city manager with township trustees, paving a road that doesn't even belong to us or Brookville. So that's,
Do you know how much it costs?
I believe we have been invoiced, if I'm correct.
Our half was 55,000.
55,000.
So we're speaking about funds that were promised.
Yeah.
Without authorization, without an ordinance, without being appropriated.
that's correct.
I do know the township has already had their meeting. They have their money set aside. They're waiting on this.
So I have a difficult, this is difficult for me to be part of because I think, we take care of the funds for the city of Nelsonville and not for, it's one thing if we're going to go in on a bigger project, like we've, done in the past with other organizations and, committees to get grants, et cetera, but that's not the case here. This would literally be $55,000 from the city of Nelsonville's coffers to pave this road.
Now, Bessemer again is not even in Brookville,
It's not.
because I was gonna ask the question, if we renege and try to annex Brookville, what's it gonna do?
Good question.
Yeah, it wouldn't, it's still not part of, so it wouldn't even be
Still township.
still township.
Okay.
But the part of paved Bessemer Road that I guess I was told we agreed to help with is what we tore up.
No, we agreed to half of it from stop sign to stop sign, is what he agreed to.
Yeah, I thought it was just a section that we helped tear up.
It was stop sign to stop sign, is what he agreed to.
But that's not, but that was part of our project as far as, the sewer there, but not pertaining to, you know, paving. Unless I'm wrong,
So
Mr. Betts, is there any money, was there any
Originally,
money
that
earmarked
wasn't
for
even
that?
supposed to go in the road. That's right. It wasn't supposed to go in the road.
There was a section that was moved out into the road, and I don't hold me to the numbers, it was a couple hundred feet, along there, and we trench patched it with concrete, to get a hard surface in there throughout the winter, and there were snow plows and school buses and that, with the thought that it would eventually be overlaid. So the project did do the trench patch, but nothing further than that.
Mr. Booth, do you have anything that you want to share on this matter?
Well, you guys kind of broke up a little bit there, but, you know, obviously there were no policies followed, there's no procedures followed. You know, the city manager evidently, went rogue and promised future money without council approval on a road outside the city. As a council person, I can't abide that. Not when there's streets in the city that haven't been taken care of for years. And for us to, and nothing against the fine folks of York Township, but, yeah, our money came from our citizens. We need to take care of our streets.
Now, should we set up, should we ask, Devin to have a conversation with the trustees?
Well, I would say somebody should have that hard conversation, because obviously, you know, somebody, tossed us in the hot water on this one.
Yeah.
The sooner the better. 'cause
Yes.
They deserve somebody to
They-
speak to them.
They do.
Yeah.
I agree. They definitely need, they deserve someone speaking with them. And so I guess the questions too would be from this committee. I guess what I would recommend is, since we're having a finance meeting tomorrow, have finance and bring the auditor in to review to see about the funding of if we have the funding, where it would come from, number one. Number two would be talking to Mr. Tolliver and asking him to reach out to the trustees and possibly having Mr. Rogue with him there, because I don't know if there's any legal ramifications that we may have to deal with. And so I just would prepare to have the finance committee review to see if there's funds there in the event that we are going to be held to providing those funds. Not that I'm not trying to say, like, you know, I'm with you on that. You know, the fine folks of York Township, it's not their fault in this situation. But I don't know what our obligations are going to be.
Did the township trustees sign a contract with anybody?
I don't know if they did or not.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we'll need to have Mr. Tolliver and Mr. Rowe probably find out if we have a signed agreement with the township.
With the
And
paving part of it? That's
correct.
Yeah.
Mhm. For the paving of it. And then we might as well, as a part of the plan, since we're having a finance meeting, probably discuss it just to.
Yeah, I think move it to finance and try to get some answers tomorrow.
By then, yeah. Okay. Do you think that's wise, Mr. Cohen? Okay. Okay.
I had the same thoughts all along. We have some
Okay.
pretty bad roads in Nelsonville. I hate that.
Yeah, and it's not that we don't want to cooperate with surrounding area. That's not the issue there. It's just, I agree with Mr. Booth on that statement that policy and procedure wasn't followed there, so. Okay.
All right, let's move on to, and I know we don't really have this, but we need to start the conversation of a 5-year paving plan.
Michael brought me maps tonight so we can sit down, and me and Devin can sit down and start doing that. He brought me a print of phase 3 water, the next phase of water, so we can see what streets we'll be able to roll into the project next year. It'll probably be what, spring, summer.
Well, the applications are actually due in August. The funding is the Ohio Public Works Commission. And it's the same program that we use to do these streets, piggyback on the water project. And what we did, we used water project funding as a match. The asphalt repair, that's a match for the asphalt paving, because the EPA and their funding programs, they'll do the patching of the roads, but they won't do full pavement. Public Works will, but it's incredibly competitive. Without matching funds, readiness to proceed. The city took a loan and committed some funds on the last one to make it successful, and we were right at the threshold of funding. So I mean, it was one of the lowest scores in the hierarchy of projects that were funded. So the city has the opportunity to apply for this funding again. The applications are due August 31st.
This August 31st.
Yes, this August 31st. And it does require legislation. And it's basically an ordinance authorizing the city manager to apply for and enter into the agreements for the Ohio Public Works funding, and there would be a series of documents that would need signed and approved. I can finalize the estimates for that. I have enough to pass out.
Mr. Dumpy, can you pass out his papers here?
Oh, we'd love to see it.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So there's this. Or is this?
So what you're looking at is the phase 3 water project that was recently funded with EPA principal forgiveness. That's a grant. It's half grant, half loan to do this water project. And so, although the city owns the water system in Brookville, those areas, Brookville's responsible for their own roads and wants to state routes. So I would ignore the two sections to the right and focus on the section in Nelsonville here. So basically, it would give us the opportunity to pave Poplar Street from Watkins down past Burr Oak to Hopkins, I believe that is down there.
Okay.
To Steiger Street, Jackson Street from Monroe to Steiger.
Yep.
Grosvenor and Church Street. There's just a couple question marks in there. If Church Street, I believe some of that was paved and what the need is up there, and we'll have to evaluate that and look at it. And then the Steiger and potentially Grosvenor have brick pavement currently. Would you like us to asphalt over top of that, or just do trench repair in those areas? But I will say trench repair with brick is difficult. But obviously we'll follow whatever the city directs us to do with that. So because we have this matching fund, we could try the same approach that we did with this paving project that was just completed. Use the water as the match. When the water project is complete, the paving comes in. It would actually be, to answer your question, 26 before they'd actually be paving. It was 2 years to get going with the big water project and then the follow-on paving with the last project. But it's an opportunity to address these areas using those matching funds, and that's my recommendation because of that opportunity.
Okay. So just to recap real quick, I don't know if they can hear you on there. I just want to make sure. So we would, on Church Street, Grosvenor Street, Grosvenor from what appears to be Chestnut to High Street, Poplar from west,
Watkins.
from Watkins down to
Hopkins.
Hopkins. Jackson Street from, the Steiger to
Monroe, where we just.
Monroe, okay.
Yeah.
And then, yep, and then the Steiger from Jackson to Poplar Street, okay. So these would be the OPWC funds that we would apply for to
Yes.
pave those, but this is also part of the phase 3 water. So we're gonna be tearing these streets up a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
So these would not go on a 5-year plan.
Correct,
Right.
they would be
We would
separate
stick
from,
Yeah,
these on a
correct.
5-year
And this
plan,
is-
Cause they're gonna be done.
correct,
This is for 26.
Yes.
The project will start before 26, right?
right. The-
It will, the street will, and so therefore maybe the funds need to be earmarked or appropriated for, 25 to be appropriate.
Okay, so then, when is phase 3 water, project starting?
So we could go to bid, right now, the schedule shows us bidding right after the first of the year. And, so construction probably by, getting mobilized, yeah, right around May.
Okay, so for timeline wise, you would be looking at these streets. We would bid in January, we would mobilize in May of 25.
Yep.
And then we would be, and then that project would take roughly,
About a year.
About a
It's
year, okay.
It's the same size as the project we just completed. It was a
Okay.
year, to get all the water done and then, come in with the paving.
So the Canal Street project starts in the spring.
That's what I was gonna ask you about, because I didn't see
Right.
anything.
So-
on it.
all right,
This would
so,
have to be our first street done. And that way,
Yeah,
we're
this-
across canal.
Yeah.
And
This
then
time.
the canal doesn't get bothered again once the
Yeah.
water line.
okay, so then paving of these particular streets, we're looking in possibly June, July of 26.
Yes.
All right, and then okay, so talk about now a little bit further here, but I want to make sure we get everything on this particular project. Mr. Clement, did you have anything?
Not on this one, no.
Okay, I just like laying out kind of the timeline of it,
Sure.
just for folks so they know what to expect in terms of the process that these streets are earmarked to be paved, but it's gonna be 2 years from now. So basically, because by the time we tear them up, work on them, fix them, then it would be, it'll be paved in June, July of 2026. Okay, great. And then on streets such as Poplar, for instance, will that get milled before it gets?
Yeah, so that's the way I have it set up now. I want to put my eyes on each, street before I finalize my engineer's estimate. I've ran rough numbers for these based on what I think. I want to go look at it, finalize that.
Okay.
And total project right now is around 645,000. And if we're successful, we could secure 400,000 max in grant. And then we'd have to look at the match and loan ratios. We'd have to work with the city auditor or finance committee, however that process, appropriate for that process. And so there would be some committed funds there, and how that affects your 5-year plan. But obviously, the leverage 400,000 grant would be a wonderful thing.
Okay, and you said there will be some legislation, but that's just for the OPWC portion of it?
To apply for the
for it?
OPWC.
Okay. All right, Mr. Booth, I don't know if you can hear that, but did you have anything to comment on this particular project?
Maybe it's not the street so much as the phase 3 water or the phase 3 sewer. Can you clarify, when's that coming up Riverside Drive?
Space 4.
Phase 4, that'll be phase 4.
So the
Okay.
project's been bid out. We're going to award it right around September 1st. The funding is being encumbered at the EPA at the end of August. It's formalized through their board meeting. It's the last Thursday of every month. So once that happens, we will, proceed. I've talked to the contractor. They want their ideal start date is October 1st. And, Jason's right. We have some commitments, milestones built in, with the EPA to start on 4th Street. So, and then we don't really dictate the rest of the project schedule to allow them the flexibility of scheduling it so it's most affordable for them. With all that said, by this time next year, we'll have that up and running.
Okay, yeah, as one of the few people in town, I'm being a little self-serving here. I'm a little sick of, not having sewer.
Okay, all right, so.
For a corrupt guy, I'm the last guy in town to get sewer, so people can judge me how they want, but,
Yeah.
I've been told a lot over the years, and nothing against you, Michael, because you haven't, but, you know, I feel like it's kind of a microcosm how we treated the citizens, you know. Hey, it's coming, and then it ain't coming.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to move to Ashland and then we're gonna get it, so.
Yeah, exactly, so I need some sewer in my.
He doesn't wanna pump his tank. Okay, all right, all right, so so we need to push legislation then from this committee
To the finance.
to the finance, to discuss potentially, $245,000 that may need to be secured for 25. Yep.
245,000.
Yeah, and then we'll need, we'll also need the legislation to, enable the city manager to, enter into an agreement with, and file the application for the OPWC. Okay. Is that, all right, we can recap later.
Yeah.
You're gonna probably have to recap, okay.
For sure.
All right, so then back to paving then, so these will be then taken out of the 5-year plan. In terms of then the other, any other paving you guys will be working on, you'll have, are there any other streets that you think need attention prior to this in 26? Or you, I mean, you want to go ahead and just work on that and then present that at the next?
We're gonna work on the map. 'Cause
Okay.
We gotta eliminate what's been paved in the last few years.
Okay.
And work our way back to figure out where we're at.
And then probably scrub a few more based on, you know, the next phases of water and sewer based on tearing up streets probably first, I'm assuming, right? So, okay.
We'll look ahead.
Yeah.
What are they
I-
gonna, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
You're fine.
what's gonna happen to Jefferson Street where that's falling in? Where you guys, or not you guys, where someone had it paved with bricks and now there's great big holes in that, in Jefferson.
Yeah, I want to bring
We
up,
still owe on that road for
Yeah.
Jesus
For a
Christ.
while.
quite a few years.
yeah,
Can't we get them to come back in and,
no,
No, we've actually.
that's
tried.
already been, we're past all that. We're stuck with what it is and paying for what it is.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing.
oh my God.
Yeah.
That was issues that happened years ago, a few years ago. I want to bring up, Chestnut Street. There it is. I know the issues under Chestnut Street with the water and sewer. And I know, Michael, you've looked at those issues a little bit. But that street truly is almost impassable right now.
It's getting worse, unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah, between the dips and the rises where the bricks heaved up, is there something that we can do? Because I'm assuming we're not gonna visit Chestnut Street for a total fix for years to
Well, I
come.
said, looking at this, with when it's gonna be starting, and when the Down Street project's gonna start, Chestnut Street's gonna be a detour.
Oh, yeah, it will, Chestnut will be a detour.
It'll be a what?
A detour. So that
Yeah.
means all our traffic, including high, okay, so this is gonna be Chestnut in itself is gonna be a major project.
It is, beyond what I think anybody realizes.
Yeah, yes, we found that at the very other end of Chestnut, how much of a project it was, because we hit lines that we didn't even know, they were never mapped or anything. So, can we, because this is gonna be a long conversation on Chestnut, but can we put Chestnut on for, because canal will be done next year, and especially after detouring onto Chestnut, off of canal, it's gonna be worse because all the heavy traffic is going to be on Chestnut again. So can we make that a priority then, figuring out a game plan for Chestnut?
Sure.
For working on that in 26? I hate to push it off like that.
Phase 4. Phase 4 water.
Phase 4 water, okay,
And potentially a phase 5 sewer,
yeah, because it has sewer there too.
But that's looking at 3-4 years down the road, right?
easily every bit of it.
It's,
Every bit.
But
I
it's-
I truly think, and it goes against what I believe. I don't believe in working on a street without taking care of what's underneath it first.
Well, you can.
But Chestnut Street truly is almost impassable.
it's only gonna get worse with the
And it's-
detour though.
And if we wait another 3 to 4 years to do anything, so is there any way we can go in there and where the really bad dips are, do something where the bricks are heaved up, do some temporary work to that to get by for the next 4 to 5 years?
With this project on at the same time as Canal Street. So we pulled on the road to make that a passable road.
Potentially, I mean, the budget for the Canal Street project is set and approved by ODOT, and ODOT's heavily involved in that. In fact, DLZ's handing them the final drawings, if we have it, we are in the next couple of weeks, and ODOT takes it from there, and we'll correspond with the city directly. They hire their own inspectors and engineers to run that project.
So I got a question, does Chestnut have to be the detour street or can it be Poplar? Because we're gonna be tearing up Poplar next and it
But
is,
they're gonna be going about the same time.
Potentially, yeah. There are gonna be overlaps there.
okay,
That's why
all right, so,
There very well could be. It might be feasible.
okay.
That, and I think timing would dictate that answer.
So how about I get with McKee, have them go down through and look at all the bad spots to just go ahead and pave to make it a little bit smoother for now. And then we'll talk, because the budget for next year, we still gotta work on that. Maybe we can pull money just for that. And it's not a complete repave, it's just
Yeah, it's just to make
fixing the
it,
bad spots to get us through until, I, going against everything you like to do, I hate putting Band-Aids on stuff.
I do
Don't
too.
it. If we're gonna do it, I wanna do it right, but this situation, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place.
And honestly though, your patches may be tore up by the time we're gonna really take into the road because of all that traffic that's gonna go down. I mean, we're talking all the semi-traffic and everything will be going down that road.
yeah, and Chestnut's been ignored for way too long. It should have been addressed years ago.
Yeah, but no one wanted to tackle that project
well,
only because it's the unknown.
Because of the scope of it.
It's work.
But some of those depths, I'm really concerned about potential sinkholes there.
It's amazing how many people fly down there and it's a 25-mile-an-hour street and I don't know how,
Well,
but then
that's-
again,
But that's another thing I worry about, is the way people fly, because how do they go down, I mean, I watched them start milling behind the old Kroger's, watching them mill Franklin Street, and I started laughing and said, "This is gonna be a racetrack." I was talking to Jerry at Savings, and he said there's cars trying to get air off the hills up by his house, where it's so smooth now, they can just fly through there. So, I mean, once you make Chestnut, I think that if we get Chestnuts fairly smooth, as much as I hate to do this, because it's never been that way, but I think at cross streets, we need to have stop signs to slow them down. Because if not, you got from clear downtown clearly at
Yeah,
east end,
yeah.
where it's straight open road with not a stop sign there.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
you and Devin can look at that then
Yeah.
and determine, that we can't utilize stop signs to control speed, but you can do a street study, and if it's potential hazardous, crossways, then,
I guarantee it's gonna be a hazard, because there's already been one car down where it's already paved and it's super smooth and everybody flies on. They hit a parked car in the road.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
I
going
seen that.
that fast,
Yeah.
it hit a parked car in the road.
okay.
We don't have a lot of time yet. We got a few more things to hit, but let's take a look at Chestnut Street.
Yeah.
Maybe come back with some ideas on that. So we'll get the 5-year paving plan put together. Let's just touch on these next two things together. Really not a lot of discussion tonight, because it's gonna take a lot of work on your guys' end.
Real quick on that 5-year plan, by the way, any plan that we put in place can be amended as we go through and we pick up, if other roads come off and we put other roads on because of other projects that come up.
Well, a misconception of a 5-year plan is you have year 1 through 5 that you just go, you have to review it every year
Yeah.
and redo. A lot of people think a 5-year plan is year 1 to year 5 and that's it. You have to redo it every year.
Yeah. It's a working
Well,
document.
that's like this year, I know there's roads in town that need done, but they were already doing so many in the project in Frog Hollow, we decided to finish out Frog Hollow. Because then that way, it's good for 10 or 15 years, then we can move to the next one, and we can keep building like that, so then when we finish, then we might have to drop back to Frog Hollow. But we're not down there and over here and back here,
Right.
because
No, that makes sense. So,
Okay, these next two items, I'm just gonna bring it out and you guys can take a look at it, is our alley improvement plan and our storm drain plan.
so the alley improvement plan was something that I've been kind of passionate about just because I utilize, several alleys and I know quite a few people that, between Chestnut and Poplar, that they park behind their houses, in the alley, so they utilize that often. And so I'd like to see some sort of improvement if we can in some of them, because some of them are pretty rough. And if there's even like, I don't know, did we get an implement for our skid steer that mills?
but it's very small.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, like, maybe we could look at a little bit, is it like 2 feet or something?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if we could look at another one or something, but maybe do something like that,
We
or,
would need a better skid steer.
okay. Or if there's any, even like chip and seal or something
So
to do in
when
alleyways.
Scott was here, we had talked about chipping and sealing out.
Okay.
The road I live on is chip and sealed every 2 years. I mean, once you drive on it for a week, it's like asphalt. But we need to come in and tear the alleys out.
Okay.
Because there are spots from the trash trucks, and they're
Sure.
about like Jefferson Street, they're rolled.
Yep.
But there's so much of it, it would be something we would probably want to contract out, like a big dump truck, a big hoe, to where they can just come down through and get it.
Sure.
'Cause we have a brand new hoe, but it's small.
Right.
And it would take us forever, and it would tear it up, trying to get bricks and pull them out just nonstop all day long and tear it up.
I just think like if we went down, and I would say maybe start with, I mean, we maybe like triage it, find the worst ones or whatever, or the ones that most, like, if you went down to Chestnut and Poplar, like you would get a ton of homes probably.
I know one between Poplar and Walnut, with the police cruisers drag oil pans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and so if we can look into that and determine what the true feasibility, what the cost would potentially be for something like that. Even if we do one a year or something, we just, again, something, it's just
Well,
been,
yeah, that's kind
been
of the
addressed for
same
years, so.
with the storm drains.
Yeah.
That's gonna take
That's gonna be,
decades to get the
Yeah.
storm drains done.
So,
Truly.
so the storm drain, we got Poplar Street. That's gonna be coming up on a project here. I think Poplar probably has in a couple areas, probably, it might need a storm drain. So I don't know if that's something we can,
So
our
a big
guys might be able
problem
to
that a
address
couple
that.
years ago, we had to address was like where poplars just been overlaid and overlaid and overlaid and overlaid. Everything was plugged up. There was no way for water. And when you had a big rain, there was a small opening, but it wasn't enough. So we had to go around the partner saw and cut out the road to give it somewhere where it was able to go.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the big importance of milling also.
Yep.
So, I mean, we have some spots that have storms, but we have a lot more spots that don't that need it.
Yeah, so the storm drain, that's also a bigger project than what people realize.
Yeah, it really is.
So, and to find the funding for something like that. But there's been a few ideas floated the last couple of years about it.
Can I make a suggestion, please?
Mhm.
I don't know how you people feel about the college, but they are willing to help us. They can write grants like you wouldn't believe. And why aren't we using them to help us, since they're basically, aren't they tax-free?
So I know we've talked, a little bit with the college so far, and I think they're gonna be, I don't know if Mr. Tudor's coming tonight for the Parks and Rec meeting, but, I just don't know, some of the grants that they would be helping us write would be in streets and alleys, infrastructure, stuff like that would be in the scope of what they'd be able to help us with. I don't know, Mr. Betts may be able to address that more, but like things that we were talking about with parks and with skate parks and things like that, they can help us probably put together those types of grants and.
But shouldn't we be addressing the major things rather than a skate park and stuff like that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it depends
guys.
on what they do. Yeah, we could definitely check with Hawking College.
Yeah, I don't have a problem asking. I think that that's a Parks and Rec situation, though, not, the skate park. That's not a street situation. So I don't know if their scope of writing grants is gonna be writing us grants, for streets and infrastructure like that.
But I go in and look at grants all the time, and they say that there's all kind of grants out there.
Well, there probably is, but have you seen any for alleys or storm drains? I
I
mean,
haven't been looking, but
yeah.
I will.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I don't know if like infrastructure would be and paving streets would be the scope of those, like OPWC, that's actually, a government, type of state agency type of funding, so.
I just thought I'd ask.
No, absolutely.
No, that's a good ask.
Absolutely.
I just, because I think there's other things that the city could be going after potentially that they may be able to assist us with. I just don't know if it's gonna be infrastructure. Do they have other grants out there that wouldn't be state agencies or anything or federal agencies that would be applying for that type of funding?
There's not many, not that I'm aware of. So there's a handful of stable programs that have been around for years that we utilize. Public Works is one of them. The CDBG critical infrastructure is another one that would fund storm drains. The city received a CDBG grant 3 years ago or 4 with HACCP's assistance. And
Okay.
when we improved Poly Field with lighting and paved the street here, fixed the storm drain there, some various things like that.
Some
limited
sidewalks, I think.
Yeah, some sidewalks, yeah. They're limited, like a critical infrastructure grant, for example, is limited to $500,000. Now that's a nice grant, but the amount of storm work that's probably required even on Chestnut Street alone would, that give you a couple blocks. So it's gonna take a big comprehensive plan to make this happen. Public Works is another one. And storm drains are typically difficult because there's not a matching fund. I'd highly recommend looking into a stormwater utility to generate some revenue for that, to create that match fund. A lot of cities around the area are doing that.
That was talked about before, like the square footage of the roof,
Mhm.
hard surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. The runoff on your property.
Yeah, impervious, yep.
Yeah, because I already noticed up there on top of 4th Street, there's one storm drain up there that we've had issues with before. And that heavy rain that we had over the weekend, you can see where the water was pooling on the road trying to get down that storm drain. And we just paved that. So,
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on those two items?
So can we possibly look at, I don't believe either one of those are actually a line item in our budget yet. Can we maybe push that to the finance to actually create those line items?
And figure out how to put funding in them.
Yep. Because it might as well add that and then figure out how we're gonna add to them, because we're gonna need some funding for that.
Yeah, a lot.
And if we, at least if we, when we start talking about the budget, maybe put a little bit of money in there for next year, just to, you know,
Just to get us started.
get us going.
Okay.
Because some of the other stuff, like the actual funding for the storm drain, that's gonna probably take a little bit of.
It's gonna take a lot of money and years to accomplish.
For the alleys, I'll pick a couple alleys and have somebody come give us quotes on it. So we have an idea of what we're looking at.
Moving on, Mr. Booth brought this up over the weekend, to discuss our railroad crossings in town. We don't have any kind of, signage, lightage, or anything on our, I believe, Mr. Booth, you said there were 3 railroad crossings in town?
Yep, Polly Field, Hawking Parkway, and then, over by City Hall. So they're all passive crossings, so there's no arms, there's no lights. And as we know, in this day and age, people are distracted when they drive, so I feel like it's an accident waiting for a place to happen.
So we'll throw that out there for tonight, and,
Yep.
something that needs to be looked at.
There might be some funding, that we may be able to work with the train on. And in terms of, and like college, you know, because college has a crossing actually too, right by their.
Oh, yeah, actually, I forgot about them.
Okay,
So, but there's, maybe through like Ohio, because we did a grant a couple years ago that the city received the funding and signed off on the funding, but the train, you know, was actually the one that actually applied for the funding, to help repair and fix some of the rails. And I think it was through the Ohio Department of Transportation, I think.
Wouldn't that be the responsibility of the, scenic railroad?
Well, we partnered with them because they couldn't, when they applied for the monies to help them fix their track and everything, the city, they couldn't receive the funding. Only a government entity could. So they helped by actually putting the plan together, filling out the paperwork, applying for the grant, and then the city came in and played the role of being able to authorize and receive the funds. So yes, we can that's why I'm saying we could partner with them and collaborate with them on that. But if it's with the Ohio Department of Transportation or something of that nature, they're not going to be able to receive the funds because they are because of the entity. So.
But that's like normal railroad crossings and stuff, that's the responsibility of the railroad themselves for
Right,
safe crossings.
correct, yeah. In this instance, I don't think they have any funding though as a scenic railway, you know, for that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they don't have the revenue like some of the larger trains.
I
Yeah.
fully agree with partnering with them.
Yeah, so I think that's something we could potentially reach out with them, and, you know, we could see if Hawking can help us with that one potentially as well. The city will have to play the role though of you know, of receiving the funds and such, but.
Okay, I'm gonna skip over this one. Mr. Cohen, you had made some suggestions on 3 streets concerning, parking and one way.
So 2 of them, me, Devin, and Harry have all sat down and discussed, and that's one making Franklin between Madison. What's the
Oh, yeah, comes down past the,
down by the post
post
office,
office, yep,
making it one way from Madison to there, going towards Stanton. Because people already park on the right-hand side of the road.
Right.
That road is not wide enough, and now with it being paved, people are flying through there.
Definitely.
We're gonna have a bad accident up there. Harry and Devin are both on board making that one way
Okay.
over that hill.
Is Madison too late? Couldn't you start at Adams where it comes up there? I think Adams goes that far.
Adams is, that section is wide enough probably
Yeah,
for 2
it's wide
lanes.
enough for 2 lanes.
Yeah,
But-
it narrows down, right, it's a
It
bottleneck
narrows down
right there.
once you get on the east side of Madison.
Right, but I see that what they're gonna be doing, they're gonna be doing fast and go, uh-oh. Never mind.
Oh, I don't know. Was that 1 lane, wasn't it 1 way at one point?
Yeah, I think Harry said it was
Okay,
at one time.
I think maybe signs just disappeared and it,
And I know a couple times during the day, the hills, we've made it one way also because just the way the traffic.
Yep.
But it's dangerous. I almost got hit head on there Thursday.
okay,
Somebody come flying up over the hill. And then the other one was Mill Street. Right now, when you come off Continent, turn right on the mill, all the parking's would be on the left-hand side, so coming down the hill. We want to move the parking to the right-hand side of the road, going up the hill. There's no driveways on that side. So it'd be parking all the way up, but it gives more room for the fire trucks to be able to swing
Very
swing
in
wide,
also.
I gotcha. Yeah, cause they wouldn't be able to,
And Harry and Devin are like very supportive of that also.
yeah, I agree, because I actually, I've been up there with my boys, mowing and with a truck and trailer to get around that corner at times. So then would you just like start
It
the
would be
parking
no
far enough from the corner where you can make
That way
that?
there's room to swing it in there.
Okay,
Because school buses go up there.
Yep.
And everything else. So I mean, we're trying to make it a little bit easier.
sure,
At the one end of the road, we had to put a handicap sign on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So now one end is on the right-hand side, and the rest of it,
weaving up there,
so it's weaving, so we just want to move everything to the right-hand
yeah.
side,
Sure,
no driveways, and then that way it gives more room for fire trucks and stuff.
okay,
Sounds like a really good.
yeah, I'm okay with that, are you okay with that?
So do we have to do any studies or anything, or have public hearings to do these switches, or can we just do them?
We may have to do a public hearing maybe, just because it impacts those individuals up there.
I've talked to like 4 of them up there, and they were fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So
can do
we
something.
probably would have to have a notice and then maybe see if there's a public hearing, but that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a step in the process.
And then the third one was down on
CYA.
Chestnut on the east end, down towards where Oakwood. They're putting in slant parking.
On,
So it takes up some more of the roads, and maybe that'll slow some people down coming
Huh,
down.
gives them more opportunity to hit something.
Well,
I'm not kidding.
I agree with that, but
Yeah.
when you leave it wide enough for 3 cars to run through there side by side, and they already run through there 100 mile an hour,
so where's this at?
just on the east end.
Where they paved?
Where it's paved.
Gotcha. Gotcha. If that's possible, if, like, looking at it, I mean, for me, I'm kind of visual, I'd have to probably, if I can see like a drawing of it or whatever, but like, if that's possible, then it maybe creating, I've seen in some places, some towns, communities where you go to, where they have that, what they'll do is like put where the part on the end before, where they can't put a parking spot, they'll put like a curb,
Yeah,
so it kind of,
forces you.
forces you, yeah, turbulence, right, creates a pathway for the,
It's just an idea.
yeah, no,
We
that's,
don't have those.
Hardly anybody parks on the street on the east end because everybody flies down through there. There's been so many accidents. Now you stick the vehicle rear end out in the middle of the street, and now you're gonna have more accidents down there.
I agree with it. What about speed bumps? You want to study and put speed
How
bumps?
bad is that? That's not.
They that or what they call calming zones or something like that down through there.
What?
They call calming zones.
calming zones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You can put an island in the middle of the street that kind of splits the street, but it
Oh.
narrows, what it does is it narrows and then it creates,
Yeah.
what,
Like a mini roundabout.
Yes, you naturally begin to slow down.
Yeah.
That would be Columbus Road.
That's it.
Columbus Road. Up in-
Actually, that'd be lovely.
So, it would be, yeah, plant some trees in there.
Yeah.
Okay. We got about 5 minutes left. I'm okay with that. If we can figure out if we need to do a street study or a public hearing, that would be great. So then the last thing for discussion that I want to make sure gets talked about, because this was talked about in another, street meeting, was, our own Robert Taylor, in the water department suggested that, on Rocky Boot Way and on September Street, we paint the center line. So the center of the center line?
The
I guess
center of the
the
center
center of the center line, I guess would be the right way to, on those streets. So we would paint, if I recall, we would paint September Street, we would paint red for, firefighters. And then we would paint the center line, the center of the center line on Rocky Boot Way, we would paint blue for the police officers. There's another one he also suggested for green line, for military, but
It
we're gonna have
wasn't
to.
just green, he was talking about from the light to here,
Oh,
it
it
was
was,
gonna be green, red.
well, that's right,
It was
but
gonna
we,
be the colors for
that's
the
right.
different.
but we couldn't, we didn't know if we could do on the other side
I've
of
not
it.
got an answer from that.
So I would say we can put that for a later date, but I think that those are easy opportunities.
Let's bring that to full council at the next meeting.
Okay.
And that way we can have a definitive on
Sure.
what direction we want.
Do we know what kind of price, have we looked at what it would cost? No, okay. We can
So-
find that out maybe.
I recommend that we move that discussion to full council.
Okay.
You fine with that, Mr. Booth?
I'm fine.
Thank you. Okay, I think we made it through with 3 minutes to spare.
There you go. A lot.
Anything somebody wants to touch on again? Yes, go ahead.
Just real quick, I had a request from somebody that lives over on the east side where there are no sidewalks. And I don't know the name of the street, but there aren't any.
Right.
And so they're driving, well, actually, they've got wheelchairs, they're going down the middle of the road with their wheelchairs.
Yeah, Borough Boulevard's the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need to address it, doesn't have to be tonight.
Yeah.
But can you put it on the next agenda, please?
Probably should have a sidewalk plan really, because we.
Yeah, that's we have.
We have, although we have folks with wheelchairs that are going down the middle of the street where there are sidewalks,
Out
so.
on the street all the time.
So, Mr. Cox.
I just got in, so I don't know if you guys discussed it, but my wife visited a Chansey City Council meeting a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And they were recently awarded a grant, I forget what it was named, but it's like making Chansey walkable. So they got a lot of grant money for sidewalks throughout, so
Okay.
that might be something we could look into and reach out to the Chansey City Council and see what that grant is specifically. And that could help on that issue.
Well, I think that's great. I think we can definitely look into that, seeing how, in this next conversation, I know the tutors here, so we're gonna talk about more grant writing opportunities and partnering with Hockey College on some of that as well, so.
Real quick,
Yes,
we do have another sidewalk
Oh, we do?
problem, the mobility corridor,
What's the street?
oh, that,
Chestnut Street, essentially from Kroger
Yeah.
to the square. Filling in the blanks where there's.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
that's a good place.
Yep. There's a lot of senior facilities in the vicinity and then right across Canal Street. ODOT's approved it, the city selected the LZ, and in fact, it's to the point where the agreement needs signed, so. I'm meeting with Devin to go over various outstanding, items tomorrow. I'll bring that up and. Go approach council.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
okay, with that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Sparked some.
We'll adjourn the street committee meeting at 6:59.